Data Center 4.0, the future of the digital ecosystem. In this podcast series from DigitalCentre, data center leader, expert and APAC-based marketeer Omer Wilson will be in conversation with technology and industry experts on the future of the data center and the wider ecosystem. Today's tech-fueled transformation era is putting traditional data centers under unprecedented pressure. This pressure is coming from businesses, users and consumers from every physical, virtual and cloud-centric angle. What does the future hold for the data center? Hello and welcome to the next DigitalCentre podcast. Thank you for joining us from wherever in the world you are today. We hope you're staying safe, you're staying well in these continuing unique times for all of us. And we certainly appreciate you making time at some stage within your day to listen to another recording online. We certainly hope you find value from the content we're going to cover today. Similar to some of our previous podcast recordings at DigitalCentre, for this session, we're really honored to be joined by an industry professional and leader from the South Korean market. He's the country manager for digital realty in Korea, based out of Seoul, Mr. Jae Kim. And we're going to be discussing really a little bit about himself, his background, but then really deep diving into the Korean market, both in terms of data centers, but also the wider technology ecosystem in Korea, what it holds for the future, and then we'll touch on also what's happening in the rest of APAC in terms of Korean organizations and also for the data industry itself. So first of all, Jay, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this important session. I'm so pleased to be here today with you.
Excellent. Likewise, Jay. Really great to welcome you. So let's start, Jay. Maybe if you can tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and your experience around cloud hosting, network industries within Korea.
I'm Jae Kim, country manager Korea of Digital Realty since August 2019. And I'm now responsible for corporate development and management side, including project management of building our first Sangam data center, ICM10, and data center expansion plans, and engagement of network strategy, connectivity, portfolio management, and marketing and sales activities as well. Prior to joining Digital Realty, I went through my own startup consulting firm named Kim & J Global, which provided global regional NSPs, ISPs, with telecom consulting practices, marketing and sales support, account management, and new market development. And I was employed by AT&T Korea in April 1992 and expanded my roles and responsibilities to AT&T Wholesale Asia Pacific. The last position of which was Regional Managing Director of Asia Pac Wholesale Voice Business and Managing Director of Asia Pac Wholesale Data Sales to cover 44 countries. And I was also worked at International Relations at International Telecom Business Group of Daycom Corporation. And I was dealing with all the family of data products and service portfolios, including service as a service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. Now heading into data center as a service and expanded to everything as a service.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that transition to everything as a service is an interesting one, Jay. So really great to hear that introduction. And maybe before I go to the next question, give a few thoughts from yourself around joining Digital Realty and what it means in your mind for the Korean market with Digital Realty coming in to the data center ecosystem.
Well, when I work for telecommunication companies, I all the time believe that the data center is a very small segment, which is part of telecom businesses. And I thought like that. And selling data center space was quite a small portion. But around the time when I really joined Digital Realty career, I found I need paradigm shift. It was not small world. It's a really big world. From my perspective as an employee of Digital Realty, I thought that the telecom business is a small part. And this is integrated total business, which requires real estate and, and design and architect and construction and connectivity and more importantly, a deeper relationship with tenant customers. This is the really harmful fourth revolution, industrial revolution, which requires all components of telecom and real estate business. And I'm really happy to be with the Digital Realty career as a pioneer and first investor from global communities into Korea. And I'm more than happy to do more as a pioneer for his company. And I like to do more and better, even though it's a relatively smaller contribution to the company at this moment.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I would argue it's a very large contribution eventually, putting a brand new location on the map for Digital Realty. So really helpful, Jay. There, thank you very much. So moving on to a bit more of the specifics, and we'd love to hear your view on a few areas of the industry, and obviously the pandemic, which is accelerating digital transformation across the world. So specifically for Korea, what is your view on the market in Korea, specifically in regards to data centers and digital transformation? And tied to that, what do you think is the impact of 5G, IoT, and AI to the digital ecosystem?
South Korea has emerged as a global center for technology innovation, high-speed communications, and digital infrastructure. The country has famously some of the highest mobile and broadband penetration rate in the world, and there are already millions of 5G users in a nation of only 51.5 million population. The South Korean economy has long been led by a select group of conglomerates, so-called chaebols, that focus on export-oriented industries such as textiles, consumer electronics, and computer hardware. But today, the South Korean economy is increasingly driven by the next generation industries, such as payment technologies, tech, gaming, and fintech. As a matter of fact, South Korea is now home to 10 tech unicorns, companies with over valuation of over $1 billion and counting. This is an economy that has estimated 1.75 million startups working in 170 incubators nationwide and 300 co-working spaces in the city of Seoul alone. 5G deployment as a key business driver is very important part. for digital transformation and data center business. South Korea is a key driver of 5G networks and is on its way to establish a fully fledged 5G environment by 2022. And data by the Ministry of Science and IT shows that 5G mobile network users in the country are predicted to have reached out around 7 million as of late May this year. This approximately equals to 10% of all mobile service accounts. With the 600,000 jobs to be created and plans for 5G-driven export industry in place, the 5G market is expected to be worth $73 billion by 2026. This also means we will see massive amounts of data transmitted simultaneously.
Excellent. Phenomenal numbers there, especially around 5G and the 5G networks, because that's something, globally, we always hear about South Korea being pioneering in this regard. And it's incredible to hear that there's so many large numbers of users already in Korea and so many jobs tied to that. So a little bit tied to that, Jay, how is South Korea being seen or recognized as a hub, and how is that driving different sectors like IoT, AI, gaming, and innovating around technology?
I think that's a really great question, and I really see South Korea as a breeding regional hub for innovation, and many reasons behind that. But the first one I can point out is constant innovation pulls the need for abundant inflow and outflow of data. South Korea is recognized as a key innovation hub in Asia-Pacific and is regarded as Asia's fourth largest economy, thanks to government-backed initiatives. This includes establishing international entrepreneurship programs at universities, opening up research institutes for aspiring scientists, and matching funds with international investors. South Korea also has the highest government backing per capita for startups, proven by the government's commitment last year to establish a $9 billion venture fund with the public and private finances. This means increased data traffic has led to growing IoT revenue and AI adoption. The increase in data traffic is also causing healthy growth in the IoT and AI sectors in South Korea. The nation's IoT revenue is growing 16.2% year-over-year, which is expected to surpass 10 trillion Korean won in 2019. The country ranked fifth after US, China, Japan, and Germany in IoT spending last year at $25.7 billion. A fund to support AI development from a third-party emergency budget is also in the works.
Excellent. Really interesting. Phenomenal numbers there as well, in terms of IoT spending. And just to reiterate one of the facts you made there, fifth, in terms of IoT spending after US, China, Japan, and Germany. That's a phenomenal place to be. More than I think you said, $25 billion, which is amazing. So we also hear, Jay, a lot around gaming and innovation around new technologies. Can you talk to those two areas when it comes to Korea?
Yeah, of course. Gaming market is very thriving and prosperous. And the only difference between past and today, lots of gaming programs are shipped over to cloud-based. That's a big difference compared to dependence on CDN and casino. But now the majority of gaming programs are cloud-based. Gaming itself is a prominent industry which has been causing increased data creation in South Korea. The Korean gaming market has become a highly valued industry with the export amount reaching around 6.4 billion a year, accounting for 8.8% of the country's trade surplus. The gaming sector is estimated to be 19.9 trillion Korean won in sales and 11.5 trillion won in export by 2024. The government has been actively growing the gaming sector with plans to expand the Global Game Hub Center, which supports game startups. It also announced plans to provide consulting services and create a system for information about the foreign markets to support the small and medium enterprises who are willing to expand their presence overseas. This will not just help in boosting the South Korean economy, but also data creation.
Great stuff. And phenomenal growth. And a great point there around the transition from traditional technology to the cloud area as well. So just to finish, I guess, and maybe just focusing in on the point around technology innovation, patents. How is this shift seen in Korea around the digital economy and internet-based infrastructure? How is that impacting the sort of startup community and the innovation within Korea, Jay?
I think South Korea, the ranking the fourth globally in patents. South Korea is regarded as one of the world's top 5 intellectual property developers, with the United States, China, the European Union, and Japan. Its patent market is thriving due to the country's thriving data market. The shift to a digital economy has created significant levels of demand for internet-based infrastructure. Many of these startups are deploying on cloud infrastructure platforms, and South Korea hosts in-country cloud computing platforms run by AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, and IBM Cloud. Startups and enterprises are moving to public cloud, and the supporting ecosystem around it will continue to mature. According to structured research estimates, the global hyperscale cloud infrastructure market is set to grow at 5-year CAGR of 35% by 2024 and reach $308 billion in value. The combination of growth and data gravity suggests quite convincingly that this growth is just getting started and has the chance to accelerate even further throughout the next decade. As you are aware, data gravity is at the center of what is happening around digital infrastructure. Data gravity refers to the close relationship between data and applications. One is dependent on the other, and the data has inherent gravitational pull, both in terms of its stability. Data is hard to move, especially when it hits critical mass, and how it attracts and drives the need for compute, storage, and processing power, along with the machine learning tools for analysis. And in order to facilitate data flow and maximize its intrinsic value, organizations need to access the networks and distribute critical infrastructure. From a digital infrastructure perspective, That means data center collocation, interconnection services, proximity to networks, and access to public cloud on lands, ideally through single consolidated experience.
Excellent, excellent. Really, really helpful. So, finishing off, I guess, on this point, in terms of growth, and maybe from some of the research numbers you're seeing, etc. What's the projection for Seoul? It'd be quite interesting, I guess, for some of the listeners to understand just how big is the market and what's the growth, Jay, projected?
Well, as with any ecosystem, there is infrastructure that houses hyperscale clouds and other IT infrastructure will grow in a corresponding project with structured research market data projects that the total data center location supply in the primary market of Seoul will come in at 236 megawatts of built out capacity in 2020 and is expected to add 106 megawatts in the next 5 years, an increase to 342 megawatts of total inventory in 2025. Local and international data center operators are pushing into South Korea to compete for this opportunity. I think the demands and investments and more social requirements or industrial requirements will be growing faster than expected.
Phenomenal. Yeah, huge growth clearly and huge potential there in the market. Very exciting. So onto the next question, and focusing on a little bit the enterprise sector. Can you walk us through some of the challenges you see that Korean organizations are facing this year, especially obviously with the global pandemic and the move to faster and faster digital transformation? And based on these challenges, what do you think are some of the best opportunities for them to achieve good growth and successful digital transformation?
All right. Many businesses are struggling to manage the sheer volume of enterprise data and gravity they create due to limited innovation to process enterprise data effectively and compliance issues that come with having to manage abundance of enterprise data. Global data center platforms that house all the elements of this digital ecosystem and have access to the public cloud platforms are far and few between and at rarity in a market like South Korea. The data gravity index shows that the Asia Pac is poised to become a prominent enterprise data powerhouse with the highest compounded annual growth rate at 153% by 2024. And Seoul is in top 21 metros with the highest CAGR. What it means? What does it mean? What data gravity ultimately creates is the need to fundamentally redesign IT infrastructure architectures with data at the center and connection flowing between private infrastructure, public cloud, and networks across multiple metros and on a regional scale, if not global basis. A data-centric architecture is required to overcome such challenges as it helps to put data at the center of the system and bring in crowds and users to the data. This is something which current architectures might not be necessarily able to address. This is why we developed Platform Digital, a first of its kind global data center platform designed to enable customers to scale digital businesses. I think it creates a decentralized IT architecture which brings users, networks, crowds, controls, and systems to the data. This helps remove barriers of data gravity and create data centers for data exchange to accommodate distributed workflows. More and more things will be happening in South Korea, especially enterprise segment.
Excellent. And great to weave in to your response there, the platform digital and obviously data gravity angles, which just for the listeners on tied to this recording on the portal and also under the Digital Realty page of the DigitalCentre portal, you can find more information as well as access the latest data gravity index, which has obviously Seoul, as Jay referenced, listed in terms of its phenomenal growth in terms of 153% by 2024. So incredibly well positioned as a country and also Seoul as a metro. So Jay, we're coming to the end of this discussion. Wish we had more time. So much great content we're getting from you on South Korea and the data center industry. So final question, really, for the rest of this year. Now we're already in April, which is incredible to think. It's going so quickly. What do you feel from your perspective in the market the rest of 2021 will hold for the data center industry?
I think we have to really think about what's the real difference between and after COVID-19. I think the COVID-19 pandemic drove international internet capacity from 450 terabytes to 600 terabytes. This means a 35% increase between 2019 and 2020, according to telegeography. But no signs of this is slowing down anytime soon. And most Asian economies are now coming out with the expectation of strong rebound, leading other geographies in terms of export and GDP projections. Definitely, pandemic, we are really worrying about the post COVID-19 pandemics, and it may show another aspects of our expectation, which may influence on data center industry. And as you are aware, Asia Pac is the largest data center already today and close to 14% CAGR over the next 5 years. Tremendous headroom from growth of digital infrastructure in the next 5 years are expected. And shift in how enterprises consume technology, 40% growth for major public cloud providers. And digital infrastructure is more essential than ever before with the 5G, AI, and IoT. In 2021, we as Digital Realty are planning to open 6 data centers in Asia across 5 countries, which is equivalent to 150 megawatt capacity. Korea is not an exception. We are working very diligently to expand our data center from ICN 10 to ICN 11 and 12. And definitely our dream in Korea to expand more will be come true. Digital Realty is supporting customers' digital transformation, and we provide trusted foundation for digital business. We are the only global platform offering the full spectrum of data center solutions, a powerful differentiator even in Korea, from a single cabinet or cage up to multi-megawatt hyperscale facility. We Digital Realty can be a single source for data center needs around the globe, from Hong Kong to San Francisco to Paris to Sao Paulo, of course, Seoul, Korea as well. Digital Realty is literally changing the topography of internet across some of the most important and fastest growing cities in the world, including Seoul, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Greater Tokyo. the most populous and wealthiest metropolitan center in the world. I'll keep my fingers crossed for digital realty to contribute to Asia Pacific communities, enterprises, and to boost up technology based data center and as a data center as a service. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
We wish you the very best of luck, Jay, as you guide and build the digital realty platform in Seoul and South Korea, really pioneering the company as it enters this new market and building out so critically the infrastructure the world needs. Jay, I think we've come to the end of our time. I'm sad to say, but I'm sure the listeners will agree. Really enjoyed your insights. We know a lot more now than we did at the start about the Korean market and the incredible stats and situation, both from a data center perspective, but also from the different digital impacts that are happening around the ecosystem. Jay, thank you very much. Any parting comments for the listeners from Seoul?
Thank you very much for having your precious time with me today. And also, I'm all the time enjoying working for great company, Digital Realty Korea, and we like to contribute to Korean economy and digital transformation based upon our portfolios we have. And definitely it's going to really not only helping Korean enterprises to expand their core business outside of Korea on a global scale base. And at the same time, there are a lot more things that we can really contribute to a Korean economy and digital transformation through our data center operations here in Korea as well. We expect more and more opportunities will become by beating COVID-19 pandemic challenges. Thank you very much for precious time today.
Thank you, Jay. Really appreciated. We've been speaking today with the country head for Korea of Digital Realty, Mr. Jay Kim from Seoul, live from Seoul in South Korea. And we hope you all enjoyed listening. Please do continue to follow DigitalCentre. The updates, there'll be more podcasts upcoming, and you can find a lot of the information, such as the Data Gravity Index and also Seoul ICN 10. More information on the DigitalCentre page, and also from the Digital Realty site on Seoul as well, which we connect to from the portal. So it just leaves me to say thank you for listening. Please, as always, stay safe, stay well, and thank you for joining DigitalCentre podcast once again. Look forward to speaking with you all again very soon. Bye-bye.